Hi folks, JJ here, San Juan Waterworks Sprinklers. In this video today we're going to be talking about how to turn the water off to your sprinkler system. There could be a lot of different reasons that you need to do that. Maybe something broke, messed up out in the yard, you got water spraying everywhere, maybe you're just worried about the freeze and you don't want anything to be damaged. So, how do we turn the water off to the sprinkler system? The first thing that we're going to do is try to find exactly where that water is coming out of the house. So, every sprinkler system that has a domestic supply from the household water has its own independent shutoff somewhere. There's a way to isolate the sprinkler system while still keeping the water on to the rest of the house. So what we're looking for is where that water is actually exiting the house. In 90% of our situations, that will happen somewhere above ground. It will go through a backflow preventer of some sort and then down into the ground and on to the rest of the system. So in this case here, we have a pressure vacuum breaker as our backflow preventer. We can clearly see that water's coming out of the house and into the sprinkler system. So the quickest, easiest way to turn off the water supply to this system is at either of these ball valves. I always like to think of these ball valves, if they're in line with the pipe, they're open. When they're across the pipe, they're in the closed position. So that would be the quickest, easiest way to isolate that water supply to the system and stop it if there was a leak. Now, if there's freeze or if there's damage done somewhere in here and this is leaking, we'll need to get inside the house to actually shut off the water to the sprinkler system at that point. So let's take a look at what that would look like in this situation. So in this situation here, we can clearly see that our pipe feeding the sprinkler system is disappearing into the house below the level of the floor. So with this vent right next to us here, obviously there's a void in here. So we'd be wanting to get to the other side of this pipe. We'd be looking for this crawl space. The other side of this wall would be the next point that we would want to get to see if there's a shutoff inside, right? So in our current scenario here, we actually don't have a crawl space that we had to get down into. That line comes up out of the crawl space, and this is the next point where we can shut that off. But either way, there's a ball valve somewhere between the domestic supply of the sprinkler system and that point exiting outside. So turning this ball valve would turn off the water supply to the sprinkler system from the interior point. So there would be no water from this point out towards the system anymore. So one handy trick, if you don't know exactly where that ball valve is, or let's say you get back down into the crawl space and there's a bunch of ball valves in there, or there's a lot of pipe everywhere, one way that you can tell which one it is by turning on some water to the sprinkler system, and then when you get back inside, you can kind of hear that water moving through there. And then here's the real trick. As you turn that ball valve that you think it is, you'll hear that water stop, as well as see that it's quit running outside.